Now we head to the part of the show which is the undercard, the place where I dwelled for so many years, sit behind the great Michael Buffer and making my little chequecitos there at in boxing.
Chequecitos.
The, chequecitos. That's all that
Hey,
matters,
you're
man.
making
That's
them,
all that
man.
matters. That's all that matters. Now, we've always talked about there's only certain subject matters that you can discuss with you. There is boxing, there is money, there is sex, and there's, of course, Raul Marquez. So, what I like to do in this segment of our podcast is basically expand your horizons, let you know some of the things that are going on outside of those four topics. And what I've decided is just kind of let you know what's been going on in the world of entertainment of late. This is our Hollywood segment. I want to let you know what's been happening in music, in entertainment, and whatever's been going on. Now, the big story this particular weekend was there were a lot of disappointed Mexicans here in Dallas, Texas. I'm not sure if you heard, but the one and only Julión Alvarez, if you're not familiar with him, one of the biggest regional Mexican stars in all of the U.S. and Mexico. He was supposed to perform to 50,000 fans at the Dallas Cowboys Stadium, and he was
AT&T
not
Stadium.
allowed. Yeah, he was not allowed. Apparently, there were some visa issues. He was a guy who, and you know how tricky it can be, Diamante, when you're a public figure. I'm sure
Right.
you've been around people that you're like, hey, I'm not really sure who this guy is, but you don't want to be rude. You take pictures with them. Maybe you get hired to make an appearance somewhere. And
Right.
there can be that stigma where, you know, you didn't know exactly who you were working for, but all of a sudden now you're connected to this person. That person has a shady type of background.
Right.
And now that stink is on you as well.
Yeah, it's happened before. I mean, actually happens a lot, Lupina. So you got to be careful, man. You know, I don't want to mention any names, yeah, but I met some people that are very like at times like, man, what are his plans? What is he trying to ask me for? What
You're
is
like
he
you're
is he
like
gonna
what does this guy actually do? I've
what's
I've
his
been
next
in places.
step? You know, what's his
Yeah,
next
I've been
step?
in
Like, I
places
don't
as
know.
well where you know me, I'm not particularly social, especially after you're more of a guy that likes to hang out at the hotel bar, the casino bar, you're down at the
Right.
lobby, you're having drinks.
Yeah,
For me, for the most part, when I get done, I'm done, man. I go to my room,
you're right.
I start packing my
Which is,
stuff.
you know what? Which is safer, man. You are you're
It
safe.
is much more boring, but it is much more safer. But I've been around some people too where I'm like, what does this guy do? You know,
Yeah.
you see what he's wearing, you see some of the stuff that he's rocking, and you're like, this guy is definitely making some bank. How he's getting it, where it's coming from, I'm not
Right.
quite sure. But for those who cannot maybe place Julio Alvarez, never really listen to his music. Let me give you a little bit of background on him. He's a guy that he sold out SoFi Stadium back in April. So in April, he was allowed into the country, and because they said that the ties with organized crime weren't there, he sold it out 3 nights in a row. The only other people to do that were Beyonce, the
Wow.
Rolling Stones, and to give you some idea as to how big an accomplishment that was, a guy like Bad Bunny, who everybody has heard, Bad Bunny has
Bad
crossed
Bunny,
over
yeah.
into you know mainstream music. He wasn't able to do it, but that was the big news here in regional music. Another thing that also caught my attention: Jennifer Lopez is being sued, and what found me a little bit perplexed was the fact she's being sued because of the fact that she used pictures of herself. They're
What?
pictures. They're pictures of
I've heard.
herself.
How's that work, man? That's
Okay,
weird.
so I looked into it. So she used pictures of herself that were taken at I believe a Golden Globes award ceremony. It was taken by a photographer. The photographer was working for a very specific company, and apparently those photos are copyrighted. J Lo went on her social media, used those same pictures,
Oh,
and
her own
apparently
pictures.
used them to promote some other thing, the jewelry she was wearing, the clothes that were on there. And I think what a lot of people don't realize it is just because it's you on there doesn't necessarily mean that you own the rights to those particular images. If you look at some of the
Yeah,
some of the
you're right.
contracts that we signed, I
What
mean,
happens in boxing, Lupin? Like the photographers, they own the. If they take a picture of me or me and you together or at a boxing fight, they literally own that picture. It doesn't mean that I could just go and use the picture because it's me. That's kind of like what happened, right?
Yeah, that's sort of what would happen. And also, I
Yeah.
think the problem that the photographers have, one, they see a big target, they see somebody who has, financial means to pay these lawsuits. Even if you don't win, sometimes it's a case of where they settle it out of court. And according to this photographer, they reached an agreement, they sent over the paperwork, and Jayla was like, "Nah, I'm not going to sign it. I decided not to do it." But what's interesting is it also happens to some of the stuff that we do. For example, a couple of weeks ago, someone sent me a video,
Uh-huh.
and it was the new music video Mexicano Soy, which
Oh,
Canelo
Mexicano
came out to.
soy. My kids
Yeah,
sing
yeah,
it. That's the Canelo comes out to that.
right. And they
Yeah.
showed me the music video, and my image appears on that music video because it was part
Oh,
of
wow.
of
That's you
Canelo's Canelo.
big time, Lupina.
Hey, bro. Some of us got it, some of us don't.
I
So,
gotta check it out.
so
I gotta check it out,
yeah,
man.
I come out for like maybe one half of a second. But what people don't realize is when you sign contracts, both with the promoter, with certain networks, once you sign that contract, you're also assigning the rights to the image that was done that particular night. They don't own your image per se, but they'll own that video that
Right.
was taken at that event on that particular night. And I think that's what a lot of people don't realize. It gets really tricky, even depending on how
A lot of
complicated some of
laws,
the
man.
contracts are.
A lot of
Yeah,
laws, a lot of
you
rules.
gotta look at those contracts, man. Those contracts
Yeah.
are very there's one contract that I signed where it said that they had a right to use this particular footage for any technology that currently exists or any technology that may come in the future. So I don't
Wow.
know, say that they're doing like virtual reality and they get to create an image of you in 3D at that
Right.
particular event or whatever. You've signed over those rights. You don't have a
So
legal claim to.
they're not gonna give you no more ching ching. I mean, that's it. That's whatever. Oh
No
man,
more
that's a rip off.
chequecitos. No more chequecitos.
Hey, that's a rip
That's
off, Lupin. They're ripping you off right there, bro. Come on.
well, I never call it a ripoff because it's one of those things where if you agree to that particular contract, you know what you signed to. There's
True.
a chance that that might come. There's a chance that it may not come. So there's a thing. Those are the ways that are happening. Now,
Yeah.
Diamante, I know you're not a big movie person. You kind of watch stuff because
My
your
wife
wife and
is
your
a big
kids
movie
make you watch
person.
it.
Jeanette's a
Now,
big movie person, but I'm not.
let me show you something that went on the auction block, and I found that a little bit interesting. There are some calzones for sale. It is the
What
movie
is
Dirty
that?
Dancing.
Oh, the movie Dirty Dancing. Yeah, I heard of that
Yeah,
movie. Come on. With
apparently, yeah, it's
what's
with
the name of that
Patrick
guy?
Swayze
Patrick Swayze, yes.
and the actress that did the famous dancing with them. They're calling them her shorts, but let's face it, they're calzones. They're going on the auction block.
For
Is
sale?
there any is
Are
there
they
any piece
clean?
of
Did they wash them? Did they
I
wash
don't
them?
know. That was a question I
Was
had
it?
as well too. And
Did she dance in them
judging
and they
by
just left them like that all sweaty and
that, the movie was like 30 years ago, so that's 30 years of butt
Damn,
sweat
man.
that was accumulated.
There's some stinky calzones, bro.
And you never know, as perverted as the world is today, maybe they might be worth actually more dirty than they are clean. Um, is there any is
You're
there
a
any
dirty
piece
man.
is there any piece of either boxing memorabilia or perhaps movie memorabilia that you would say, you know what, I wouldn't mind having that in my home?
Nah, man. I mean, I never been a guy that collects memorabilia like that. Now I do have a friend that look. I remember when I think it was Mayweather. It was one of Mayweather's fights, and you know how they take the wraps off, Lupina? They take the wraps off and all that, and they just throw them on the floor. Whatever's left of gauze. Well, guess what? He went and picked it up, Lupina. It was all bloody and they might have spit on it. He went and picked it up and he kept it, man. But he's the kind of guy that keeps that kind of memorabilia. I mean, that's
I-
pretty
I've always
crazy, right?
I've always found it weird, like when the fighters throw their mouthpiece into the audience.
Ah,
You know, it's
with
full of blood,
blood
it's
and
full of
spit.
babas, everything, and
Yeah,
it
man.
just hits people and people grab it. Remember the piece of Holyfield's ear
Oh
that
yeah,
got
yeah.
bitten off? That went for
For
some
an
major
auction,
money
right?
as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
Yeah, it went for some major money as well. So this one's expected to go for maybe it says $2,000. The auction is happening right now, but I think it's going to go for a lot more. I
I
think
would
there's going to
think
be some.
so. I mean, if she was wearing them for the movie, Patrick Swayze movie, I don't remember the actress. Was she attractive? Was she pretty? I don't.
Her role, she was meant to be unattractive. She was like the ugly duckling that
But it's
eventually
still,
became like
yeah.
a,
Well,
Yeah,
she's still in
it's
the movie, you
famous.
know. Yeah,
Yeah,
she was in the
I'm
movie. Yeah.
sure there are some weirdos out there that are going to pay good money for that
I'm
particular
sure
piece
there is,
of
man. I'm sure there
movie
is.
memorabilia. Speaking of actresses, your favorite actress, we talked about her last week, Sofia Vergara. Ay,
Ah.
señor.
What about her?
she was she was on the Today Show, and she recently got divorced. She got out of her second marriage,
I
and
wonder
she had a
why.
very she had a very interesting quote, and it kind of alludes to the reason as to why perhaps the marriage ended. They asked her if she were to get married again, what would she look for in a particular partner? And this was her answer. She says, "I want to say basic stuff like health and somebody that loves me, tall, handsome." And then she went on to get to the gist of it. She goes, "I want somebody that makes as much money as me or more, because if not, it's a nightmare. They end up resenting you." You know, Diamante, I'm not sure how this goes for your personal relationship, but as far as our relationship is concerned, she sort of does have a point, because I kind of resent you a little bit because you make a lot more money than I do. You have a lot more money in the bank, and you also make it a point to show me the receipts about how much money is there and
What are
how
you
much
gonna
money
come
I
up
don't
with?
have. But do you think she has a point somehow that if, especially when the woman is the bigger earner, she was married to an actor who who had some success. He had some brief moments of highlights, but definitely not on the level as her. You think when there's an income discrepancy in the relationship, that tends to be a big problem?
I think if it's the woman making more money, Lupina, probably yes, but I was raised, old school with my father, we're the men in the relationship. We go out there and work and make the feria. So for me, I have no problem, I mean, obviously, with me and Jeanette, I'm the one that brings in the bread, and, takes care of the kids. She takes care of the house. She cooks. We go out, eat out. She washes clothes. We go on vacation. We do this, we do that. So I don't think there's a problem there, but with like what Sofia Vergara was saying, like she wants somebody that makes as much money as she does or more. I think she's got a point, dude. I really think she's got a point. I'm all with it. I understand her.
Now, let me ask you this: you said that there's not a problem because you are the high income earner. Now, if the roles were switched, there was a
For me,
they
yeah.
talked to a relationship psychologist, and she mentioned some of the things that can arise from that. She said that usually what happens is the more wealthy partner, they perceive that they should have more control, they should have more say so in the relationship. And typically, as you said, when roles get reversed, especially in our society, obviously the man typically is the guy who is the higher earner. Would you have a problem if she was the moneymaker and she wanted more control, she wanted to be the one who wears the pants in the family?
Lupina, you know me better than that, Lupina. And I know you too. You know that nobody's gonna
Oh,
control,
it would
nobody's
be
gonna
a
tell me, hey, listen,
problem. It would be a problem.
it
Be
will be
honest. Be honest.
actually.
It would be a problem.
Yeah, it would. I mean, because I'm a guy that I feel like I know about money and I know how to manage money very well, So my wife doesn't question that. She knows that she knows I'm in control of that. She says, "I'm, you're the man of the in the relationship, so you know what to do. You know how to manage money, So, but asking me the question, like, would you ask, like, if I could have a woman control me and be controlling what I spend and all that? And I don't think I could do that. I don't think I could live that way.
Now,
That
one of
doesn't
the
go.
suggestions that the psychologist made was, she said that people should split things equitably. Like when it comes to bills, if you're making 75% of the income, then you should be paying 75% of the bills. And if the woman is making, or the other partner, I should say, is making 25% of the income, she should be paying 25% of the bills. Is that something you think would work in your relationship?
Now everybody has their understanding. I know how it works. I know what works in my relationship, and me and my wife were in agreement. And that's it. But everybody to each his own. Cada quien, right? Cada quien.
It said also that the couples, especially when there is a huge discrepancy in income, that you should talk about money sooner or later. I'll be honest with you. Anyone that I've been involved with
Yeah.
in a significant relationship, they never really had any idea as to how much money I made or how much money I didn't make. They had some assumptions by some of the things they saw and some of the things that I
Right.
did. At what point, say someone who is getting into a serious, committed, matrimonial relationship, do you agree that money needs to be talked about sooner than later?
To a certain extent, I think to a certain extent. I mean, but you know, when a girl gets with a man, I mean, or vice versa, they know more or less, you know, if a guy is financially stable or you know where he lives, you know what he's driving, how he eats, how he dresses. I mean, you could pretty much tell, Lubina, if a guy's, you know, or he's living still at his parents at 40 something years old or 50 years old. That's pretty much you could tell. I don't think that's something that you need to ask. Uh, you'll be able to tell just by seeing how the person acts and their behavior.
But you're avoiding the question: how quickly should one talk about money? Should it be within the first couple of dates, when you realize that maybe this is going to something more serious? When?
Honestly, to me, it's not important. I don't think that matters. I don't think it should matter whether you know someone's worth $10 million or someone is worth
Yeah,
you know
but
one hundred
you're
bucks.
speaking ideally, though. You're speaking ideally, but
Well, that's
let's
my
face it,
opinion. That
it does matter. It does matter, and people
for
use different
some
terms.
people,
People use
well,
terms like, I want someone to
there's
be successful. I want someone
yeah.
to give me security. And those are all code words and buzz phrases for, I want the guy to have some money, or the person to have some money.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, come on, Lubina. There's a lot of women out there that they practically they target men that have money. They say it out loud. Yeah, I'm not gonna date a poor guy. I'm not gonna date a bum. You know, I want somebody that makes money is gonna take care of me. Of course, they got those kind of women out there. You know, but and then you got the women that it doesn't matter. You know, they're gonna love you for yourself. You know, but of course, who you know who's not gonna want someone to be with someone that's successful or has something going than just have a guy that still lives at home at 40 some years old or 30 some years old and doesn't have no kind of education. Even an education is somebody that went through high school, went through college, is educated, has a nice job, has a good salary. I mean, that's what they're going to go for. It's no, it's. I think it's normal. I think it happens. That's the way it should be.
Well, well, I'm glad to see that I can finally bring peace between you and Sofia Vergara, and that you find that you at least have something in common, something you both
At
love,
least
which is
some of the.
money,
Yeah, I agree with her. Well, because she's the
power.
one that make. Hey, she's the one that makes the money. She's like, I want somebody that makes as much as I do or more. She's got a point. Being the woman in the relationship. If it's the man, I think, like I said, I was raised like, you know, we go out and hunt. We go out and hunt and bring home the bread, you know, for the birdies, you know, for my little birdies and my wife. That's the way my dad raised me, and that's the way I think.
Yeah, not everybody thinks that way, though. Not
You're
everybody
right.
sees it. Not
You're
everybody sees
absolutely
it that
right.
way. It is a holiday. It is Memorial Day. We want to thank our dozens and dozens of followers who follow us weekly.
Oh man, I hate it
Um,
when you say that. I don't want to hear that, no, Lupina. The people, you guys got to like and subscribe. We got to change Lupina's, you know, the way he, you know, puts it out there. Dozens, and I don't want to hear that no more, bro.
yeah, we want to encourage you guys to go to Raul Marquez's Punchy with Lupe Contreras, our YouTube page. Subscribe, get us to the point where we can at least start monetizing this particular venture that we have here. As we mentioned before, if this were a fight, you know, we'd have a swollen eye,
Oh,
our lips would be bloody, there would be, you know, blood spewing from our nose. Someone in the corner would be going, "Stop the fight. Stop the fight." But we're going to champion on. We're going to keep going. Make sure you like and
champion
subscribe. Go to
mentality, baby.
YouTube.
We don't give up. We
Go
don't
to
give up.
Apple Podcasts. Go to Spotify. We thank you for watching this particular episode 5. At this time, speaking of young wives that Raul has to satisfy, he's got to go do that. He's got kids. He's got to go throw the ball with his future Major League Baseball player in the backyard. And I've got a dog that I got to prepare for our surgery. If you can send some good vibes to Maxie this Thursday, he's having a giant. You had yours in the back.
Pray for Maxie.
Maxie.
Pray for Maxie.
Yeah, Maxie has it in the front. He's a little soldier, man, so he's gonna make it through. But until next time, we will see you. Like and subscribe. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been Raul Marquez's Punchy with Lupe Contreras, and we are out.